anyway, he's signing new executive orders into action.
So first foreign trip typically has been with UK, but I did it with Saudi Arabia last time because they agreed to buy $450 billion worth of our product. I said, I'll do it, but you have to buy American product, and they agreed to do that. They bought $450 billion. It was the least reported story I've ever been involved in.
And now, where are you planning to go now?
Well, I don't know. If Saudi Arabia wanted to buy another 450 or 500, we'll up it for all the inflation.
Mr. President, you say you were going to end the
Oh my
war
God.
first day. How do you plan to end
Bro,
Ukraine?
he's gonna give Saudi Arabia nukes. I'm telling you, he's just like, up nuclear arms. It's very expensive. Saudi Arabia needs it. Are you gonna give them the nukes? Do you have 500 billion? They'll get it from Russia.
In Saudi Arabia to normalize relations.
I don't think I have to push them. I think it's going to happen, but maybe not quite yet. But they'll end up being in the Accords, the Abraham Accords.
President Trump,
I think Saudi Arabia will end up being in the Abraham Accords.
This year?
Could be, but soon, not in a very long way. Ooh, look at that! It says TikTok.
President Trump,
My! What is that all about?
First, we have Alaska, sir. This is an executive order relating to unleashing Alaska's potential as an energy reservoir for the entire nation.
And what about Anwar?
I believe that would be included in aspects of the
So
order.
we're opening up Anwar.
So
on the TikTok piece, President Trump, you and your members of your team now used to warn about the dangers of TikTok spying on Americans. What changed that you're not worried about that anymore?
Well, it depends on the deal. I mean, I may not do the deal or I may do the deal. TikTok is worthless. Worthless if I don't approve it. It has to close. I learned that from the people that own it. If I don't do the deal, it's worthless, worth nothing. If I do the deal, it's worth maybe $1 trillion, $1 trillion. So if I do the deal I'm talking about doing it for the United States. If I do the deal for the United States, then I think we should get half.
The TikTok CEO.
In other words, I think the U.S. should be entitled to get half of TikTok. And congratulations, TikTok has a good partner. And that would be worth, could be $500 billion or something. It's crazy. The numbers are crazy. But it's worthless if the president doesn't sign, then it's worthless. If the president does sign, it's worth maybe $1 trillion. So I think, like a joint venture, I think we would have a joint venture with the people from TikTok. We'll see what happens. I mean, that's one of many ideas I've
The
had.
CEO is now. Did he say that he's open to that idea?
Who?
When the CEO of TikTok is around.
Oh, I think he'd probably like it. Because he's got nothing. I mean, they really have nothing. It's passed in Congress. It gives the president a right to make a deal or to close it. And we have 90 days to make that decision. But I could see making a deal where the U.S. gets 50% of TikTok, polices it a little bit or a lot, depends on them. But remember, they make telephones in China. They make all sorts of things in China. Nobody ever complains about that. Here they're complaining about this. There's so many different products made in China, and nobody ever complained about it. The only one they complain about is TikTok. And TikTok is largely young people. I guess I have a warm spot for TikTok that I didn't have originally. But, I went on TikTok, and I won young people up by 36%, Peter.
He loves that. That is the main.
Typically don't do too well.
I
with
swear
young
to God,
people.
that's the only
But it's a
reason why
different
he wants to
Republican
defend
Party.
TikTok.
Would the U.S. support TikTok?
He's like, yeah.
TikTok then, or how
TikTok
would
was
you
great for me with the youth vote. I'm keeping it.
50% of TikTok for the approval that TikTok could continue in
If
business.
Huawei phones somehow were responsible for him winning the election, he would have saved that too.
Essentially would be paid for doing that half of the value of TikTok.
Would there be a private sector owner as
Could
well in
be,
the
yeah,
US?
could be a lot. Tell you what, every rich person has called me about TikTok
You wanted to block TikTok. Why did you change your mind?
because I got to use it. And remember, TikTok is largely about kids, young kids. If China's going to get information about young kids, I don't know.
Are you
To be honest with you, I think we have bigger problems than that. But when you take a look at telephones that are made in China and all the other things that are made in China, military equipment made in China, TikTok, I think TikTok is not their biggest problem. But there's big value in TikTok if it gets approved. If it doesn't get approved, there's no value. So if we create that value, why aren't we entitled to like half?
Sir, if you don't 90 days, will you shut them down?
Does Biden ever do news conferences like this? How many news conferences?
He's not
Peter, has he
president
done like
anymore.
this?
He's dead, bro.
None.
Who cares about Biden? He's still talking about Biden.
And it would be zero for the next infinity. For infinity, it would be zero.
Mr. President, when you plan to talk to President Musk, going to help implement the executive orders? I think you mentioned implementation.
Yes, it was technically his FBI that did January 6th.
He was very busy sending
Yes.
rocket ships up to various places.
But he
with lots of
always
satellites
considers the
on it.
FBI before January 6th and after January 6th, especially as a hostile entity. By the way, it was quote unquote his FBI that did January 6th with his head that he had appointed to the FBI after firing the previous one. So it's like it was fully his FBI.
I think he's going to get a lot of votes. I think he's going to be at 90% or something. I mean,
Did you say
I'm hearing
President
very
Musk?
good- People know him. They know him in the Senate. They know he's good. He's doing a good job. I don't know. I can't tell you. I don't know what's going to happen with that. He's got some very strong ideas, though, Marco.
You signed the
TikTok order, right?
TikTok. Did you sign the TikTok order?
Yeah,
Yes, that was just signed.
President Marco Rubio's ideas is
just signed it.
How many
still
did you sign?
changing
Are you going to
Venezuela,
sign?
changing power. Are you still committed with Maduro leaving power in Venezuela?
Well, we're going to find out about that, too, because we're going to probably stop buying oil from Venezuela. We don't need their oil.
Another
Oh fuck.
Yeah,
Yes, that was just signed.
President Marco Rubio's ideas is
just signed it.
How many did
still
you sign?
changing
Are you going to
Venezuela,
sign?
changing power. Are you still committed with Maduro leaving power in
Well,
Venezuela?
we're going
you
to find
a
out
dictator?
about that, too, because we're going to probably stop buying oil from Venezuela. We don't need their oil.
Another embargo like the first term?
Well, it could be, but we don't want to buy, we don't have to buy their oil. We have plenty of oil for ourselves, so
President Trump,
that'll change Venezuela quite a bit.
President Trump, there was a lot of concern about this during the campaign. A question that only works today. Are you a dictator on day one?
No, no. I can't imagine even being called that. No, I believe in the sanctity of the vote. The Democrats didn't because they cheated like dogs, but I believe in the sanctity, and this was too big to rig. This last election was just too big to rig.
Mr. President,
no.
we believe in climate
Finally,
The
change.
opposite.
an election that he won, so there was no
Could be
cheating.
very soon.
And you talked a bit about Ukraine and Russia, but how long do you think it would take to end that conflict? And
I have to speak to President Putin. We're going to have to find out. He can't be thrilled. He's not doing so well. I mean, he's grinding it out, but most people thought that war would have been over in about 1 week.
I
And now
told you
you're
he was
into
going to do
3
that.
years, right? So he can't be thrilled. It's not making him look very good. Now, eventually, I mean, it's a big machine, so things will happen. But I think he'd be very well off to.
Oh
end
my
that
God.
war.
Tariffs are
We
coming
have
in on them.
Numbers of
Oh,
almost 1
February
million Russian
1st.
soldiers have been killed. About 700,000 Ukrainian soldiers are killed. Russia's bigger. They have more soldiers to lose. But that's no way to run a country.
What did your TikTok order do, Mr. President?
It just gave me the right to sell it or close it. Essentially, with TikTok, I have the right to either sell it or close it. And we'll make that determination. And we may have to get an approval from China, too. I'm not sure. But I'm sure they'll approve it. And if they don't approve it, it would be somewhat of a hostile act, I think. But it's good for China if it gets approved.
Mr. President, so you're not guaranteeing that TikTok will be around after 90 days from today?
No, but it could very well be. It makes sense for it to be, because it's got tremendous value. But if we create the value by approving, in other words, that approval gives it tremendous value. If that's the case, then we should be entitled to 50% as a country. You understand? You haven't heard that one before, right? That's called a joint venture. And nobody ever thought that way before. Well, I don't know. I think you have a lot of people that would be interested in TikTok with the United States as a partner.
Mr. President, what was it like walking into the Oval Office this evening?
Oh, what a great feeling. One of the better feelings I've ever had.
Do you like this town better now than in 2017?
Well, we're very experienced now. You would say nobody's ever had experience like I have. I've dealt with some very good people. I've dealt with some very bad people, and I know who the bad ones are and the good ones are. You know, don't forget, I was very successful in primarily the real estate business. And people used to say, who's worse, a politician or a vicious real estate developer? And I'd always say, you know, the real estate developer is far worse. But after about 3 months and getting to know scum like Adam Schiff and other people like that, I said, no, actually, real estate people are quite nice by comparison.
You said you plan to speak with President Putin soon. What about President Zelensky, and what's your message?
Yeah, I would, but he's told me he wants to make a deal. I mean, he wants to make, Zelensky wants to make a deal. I don't know if Putin does, he might not, I don't know. He should make a deal. I think he's destroying Russia by not making a deal. I think Russia's gonna be in big trouble. You take a look at their economy, you take a look at the inflation in Russia. So I would hope, I got along with him great, and, you know, I would hope he wants to make a deal.
Mr. President, are you keeping U.S. sanctions on Russia until he makes a deal?
Well, sanctions or tariffs. I think the word tariff is much better because it keeps your dollar stronger. I think tariffs are more effective. I mean, I use sanctions on Iran. Iran was broke. When I left office, Iran was broke. They had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah, none. They were flat broke. And October 7th would have never happened. And I think you all know that. It would have never happened. They had no money. Now they're rich, but, you know, they're weakened in a different way. I would say that the one attack by Israel really set them back. It really set them back. The Pagers and others. You know, the attack on air defense was a bad attack for Iran.
What are you signing now, sir?
It's an executive order relating to reforms to the federal workforce, including to the senior executive service.
We're getting rid of all of the cancer. I call it cancer. The cancer caused by the Biden administration.
Sir.
How confident are you, Mr. President, that you can keep the ceasefire in Gaza and conclude the 3 phases of this deal?
I'm not confident. That's not our war, it's their war, but
Apologize.
I'm not confident. But I think they're very weakened on the other side.
Do you support the 2-state solution?
Gaza, boy, I looked at a picture of Gaza. Gaza is like a massive demolition site. That place it's really, it's got to be rebuilt in a different way.
Do you plan to help rebuilding Gaza?
I might. You know, Gaza is interesting. It's a phenomenal location. On the sea, best weather. You know, everything's good. It's like some beautiful things could be done with it, but it's very interesting.
I'm
But
sorry, what?
Some fantastic things could be done with Gaza.
How do you see the future in governance for Gaza?
Well, it depends. I can't imagine you could have, well, you certainly can't have the people that were there. Most of them are dead, by the way, right? Most of them are dead. But they didn't exactly run it well. Run viciously and badly. So you can't have that.
Mr. President, on TikTok, sir, do you pause any decision on Chinese tariffs until you know what the resolution on TikTok will be? Are those things
No,
connected at
if
all?
China didn't approve it, we could put tariffs on China. Don't forget, China charges us tariffs, and we charge them very little, except for what I did. I put a lot of, we took in hundreds of billions of dollars. But until I came along, China never paid 10 cents to this country. They ripped us off, and they never paid anything. But like, if we wanted to make a deal with TikTok, and it was a good deal, and China wouldn't approve it, then I think ultimately they'd approve it because we'd put tariffs on China. Maybe. I'm not saying I would, but you certainly could do that. And if we said, well, if you're not going to approve it, then that's a certain hostility, and we'll put tariffs of 25, 30, 40, 50%, even 100%. And if we did that, I think they'd approve it.
President Trump, you've seen the other living presidents a couple times in the last few months. If you ever had to call on one of them for advice about anything that's going on here, which one would you call?
It's an interesting. Well, I thought Bill Clinton was a very good
This is
politician.
Truly
I don't think
heinous
he was
stuff.
used properly. I think they disrespected
We are so
him.
America's so
When
fucked.
Hillary
The
was
rest of the
running,
planet is fucked.
He came back
The
and he
entire
said,
globe
you know,
is
you
fucked.
better get up to
It hasn't even been
Michigan
12
and
hours
Wisconsin.
yet.
You remember
It's
that.
barely been 12 hours in office,
Every house
and he's
has a
already
Trump
said
sign on it.
mass immigration
And
raids,
they all laughed at him because
Gaza
the
beachfront
Republicans
property,
hadn't won Michigan or Wisconsin,
tariffs to Mexico and Canada instantly
decades,
February
long time.
1st.
and they all laughed at Bill
Like,
Clinton.
how is the stock market not reacting to this in the
hell does
normal
he
ways
know?
that you would?
And he turned out to be right because I won both of them. And then we just won both in this election, too. We won Wisconsin and Michigan and every other swing state. We won all the swing states, all 7. They talked about 7 swing states. We won them all.
Oh, it's because MLK Day,
Bill
stock
Clinton
market's
was-
closed
he had a
today.
great
I forgot. I forgot that it's.
Political sense, I think.
I forgot.
We were having a good conversation with President Obama at President
I
Carter's
was.
funeral.
And you'd like to know what it was? Oh, everybody wants to know. I know, I wouldn't want to, but we were having some crazy conversations. Why do you asking a question like that? You don't. I don't think you want to know. You might not.
Tell us what you just signed.
You might be insulted.
It's an executive order relating to holding former
It's
government
also like
account-
8 p.m.,
government
bro.
officials accountable for unlawful disclosure of sensitive information. This next one, sir, is a declaration of a national energy emergency.
So you also.
That's a
have
big
some-
one. You know what that allows you to do? That means
I think.
you can do whatever.
I
you
think
have
we're
to do to
entering
get
very weird territory.
that
In
kind
the
of
absence
emergency.
of organized resistance against this sort of action from the obviously reactionary government, I feel like the resistance to this sort of the resistance to Donald Trump is going to take the form of decentralized resistance, which is always uncontrollable.
Got here.
Okay. In the least violent ways of decentralized resistance movements, when there are no legal structures in play, like workplace sexual assault and violence, was the Me Too movement. The most violent version of decentralized resistance against unlimited amounts of profit seeking that puts people's lives at stake is Luigi Mangione. Take your pick.
I would like to find out what it is. And
It's
tell
going to
me.
probably see itself in the form of both of these different movements. On the one hand, there will be,
Yeah, why don't we find out?
I suspect that there will be some semblance of
can't imagine that you
organized
had him.
efforts
There
to
would've been-
try
people would've gotten
and
blown up
actively
or
apply
maybe they
social
would've
pressure
said things.
in the
I don't know
face
why
of
they would've
unchanging and
said what it was.
unyielding cruelty by our
Apply over
legislative
to
body,
Westminster, which is interesting.
by our judicial body. And also, on the other hand, I suspect that there will be direct instances of violence from adventurists as well.
No security. Because they had everything shut down to drones. You know, you can shut that down pretty easily if you're sophisticated. They're very sophisticated, these people. No, it was just cold weather. And we made a good move because, first of all, I thought it was incredible in the Capitol today. You know why I liked it? Because I got great reviews on that speech. I got great reviews. Can you believe it? They actually were fair.
This is
Maybe the fake news is changing.
Unleashing energy production, sir.
Unleashing energy production. But I thought it was, I think having it in the Capitol is great. It's obviously, you can take care of the people you have to take care of. The city was booming. And if we would have done it outside, people would have been hurt because it was really cold. You know, it was like, looked sunny. But when you stood outside for 10 minutes, people were running back in. It was really cold and really windy. The wind brings it down a lot. So we made the right decision. You couldn't have stayed, I don't think you could have had it out. You know how cold it was today. It was, people went out for a little while just to test it. They couldn't stay out more than 10 minutes. They all came back in. So we would have had a disaster if we did that, and people would have been hurt.
The unlawful disclosure, is that related to the Hunter Biden situation?
Which one?
The one on unlawful disclosures by federal officials, is that related to?
No, I think it's just more general than that. It's not Hunter Biden. I was surprised that President Biden would go and pardon his whole family because that makes him look very guilty. You know, I could have pardoned my family. I could have pardoned myself, my family. I said, if I do that, it's going to make me look very guilty. I don't think I'd be sitting here, frankly. If I did that, I don't think I'd be sitting here right now because I would have shown that you're guilty. But by pardoning his brother or brothers, by pardoning all of those people that he pardoned, by pardoning J6, the Unselect Committee, they destroyed all of the documents. They deleted all of the information. There's no information. And a lot of the information pertains to Nancy Pelosi because she was given 100, I mean, you know this, it's on tape with her daughter. Nancy Pelosi was responsible for not taking advantage of 10,000 soldiers or 1,000. You wouldn't have you could have used 400. It was a relatively small crowd. It wasn't the crowd that was at the mall. It was a small crowd. So I was a little bit surprised that he did it because it makes him look guilty. I mean, he's going to have to live with it. Now, with that being said, it's unbelievable precedent it creates.
Details
for
of the
a
January 6th
president.
pardons, commuting the sentence of the head of the
But
Oath
the
Keepers,
precedent
and one of the first people to breach the Capitol who was charged with
Unbelievable.
assaulting
Now
a police
maybe every
officer,
president
Dominic
that leaves
Pizzola.
office, they're gonna
He
pardon every
also
person
got
they ever
Enrique
met.
Tarrio out of
So they
prison.
don't have
Enrique
some lunatic
Tarrio
like
had a
deranged Jack
22-year sentence.
Who's a total lunatic, by the way. Not a smart guy, he's a dummy. But we beat the hell out of him. And I helped my reputation.
Do you think you'd have to do the same thing at the end of this term?
Well, I guess now I have precedent to do it. I don't.
Like, I personally
do
think
that.
that
I think it makes you
there
look
is
very guilty.
validity for
I think it makes Biden look
reducing
very
the
bad,
sentences of
very
some of the
very
people
guilty.
that got popped on January 6th. But
I mean, he applauded-
having said that, you know, there are active people who did harm, not
The
just to
reason is
fucking property,
because
but to like
if you
police
delete and
officers and
destroy
numerous other people who like
documentation,
actively did
everything.
try to
They
do,
have nothing.
albeit
Because they were guilty
unsuccessful,
as hell. They
a
rigged it. It was
sedition,
a rigged deal.
an insurrection, and it makes
when you do
sense
that, they look
why
very bad,
you
but,
would. It makes sense
I
why
was
you
a
would
little
keep
surprised
some of
he
these
did it.
guys in prison.
Liz Cheney, I mean, she's a lunatic. And she lost by the greatest margin in the history of a politician running for Congress, like 40 points. The reason it was the greatest is because anybody losing that badly is going to drop out. But she's a nut job. She doesn't drop out. You know, she just keeps chugging forward. And she lost by almost 40 points. That's the biggest number anybody's ever lost by. But why would Biden do that? He pardoned her and pardoned everybody. The reason is that they destroyed documents. And if you're even in a civil case, which this wouldn't be, I mean, people go to jail for a long time for doing that. What's this one?
That's unleashing American energy, sir. It relates to easing permitting processes and other regulatory systems to ensure that we can produce energy efficiently to drive the American economy forward.
President Trump, looking around the office, we noticed some changes from the way that Biden had it set up. Can you confirm that you have added back the Diet Coke plan?
I think this, first of all, I just got here. So my people came in. They have extraordinary decorator sense, right? Let me just see some of the pictures. Oh, that's a good one. I could live with him. I could live with George Washington, I can tell you. I could live with Thomas Jefferson. I could live with most of them. They took a very safe route. They don't have any bad ones up there.
Withdrawing from
What
the
is this one?
Withdrawing from the World Health Organization, sir.
Ooh, that's a big one. So we paid $500 million to World Health when I was here, and I terminated it. China, with 1.4 billion people, we have 350 to pay. We have, nobody knows what we have because so many people came in illegally, but let's say we have 325. They had 1.4 billion. They were paying 39 million, we were paying 500 million. It seemed a little unfair to me. So that wasn't the reason, but I dropped out. They offered me to come back for 39 million. In theory, it should be less than that, but you know. And when Biden came back, they came back for 500 million. He knew that you could have come back for 39 million.
Bro,
They
you're
wanted us
talking
back
about,
so bad.
you're
So
acting like
listen
this is
what
cutting a
happens.
deal. Like, this is
Pretty
global
sad to think
health,
of it.
dude. What the hell?
China pays 39 million and we pay 500 million. And China's a bigger country.
Mr. President, you spoke about inflation today in your remarks. What actions are you taking today that will have a
Already the
direct
deal,
impact for
baby.
Americans on their everyday
Billions
costs
must
to bring
die.
costs down?
The biggest thing and factor for inflation is energy. They screwed up my energy policy, and then they went back to it. You know, they hurt it really badly, and then they went back to it, and they started drilling more, but by that time it was too late. many of these things that we're signing and that Doug Burgum is going to be signing, and Chris Wright, who's phenomenal, Energy Department
Alex
of Energy.
leaked your
We're going
tags.
to be taking a lot. We're going to make a lot of money from energy. We have more than anybody else. We're going to make a lot of money from energy. We're going to make a
What?
lot of
No,
money
this
from
is not
tariffs.
for me. What are you talking
European
about?
Union charges us. They have a VAT tax of 20%, but it's really much higher than that. And that's the equivalent, almost the equivalent of a tariff. And they're tough. They're very tough. They don't take our cars. They don't take our farm product. They don't take almost anything. And yet we take their cars and we take their farm product. We take a lot from them. So, we have like a $300 billion deficit with the European Union. So we'll straighten that out with either tariffs or they have to buy our oil. The one thing they can do, our oil and gas, the one thing they can do to catch up quickly, buy our oil and gas.
Will you travel?
And they should do that.
Will you travel to China this year?
Yeah, it could be. I've had the invite.
Mr.
President, she's
President,
invited
I would
you
do it,
to
yeah.
come this
I
year.
would do it.
talking about the European Union and the tariffs, like, what do you mean when you say that European Union country like Spain is part of BRICS?
That are what?
BRICS. You said
Oh, BRICS. No, I was talking about BRICS. BRICS are 6 nations. I think it's 7 nations. And they were looking to do a number in the United States. And
They
if
added,
do
they
that,
added Spain.
they won't be happy about what's going to happen to them.
Are you still considering a universal tariff, Mr. President, on all countries?
I may, yeah, but we're not ready for that yet. We may put it, wrap it,
Mr. President.
because essentially all countries take advantage of the U.S.
This
We
is-
don't make any good deals in the U.S. It's amazing in a way that we exist. We don't make good deals. We don't have any good deals. We have a deficit with almost, not all, there are a couple, I won't tell you their names because I don't want them to find out about it because they'll feel stupid. But there are a couple of countries that actually don't make money with us. But I don't want to let you know because they'll immediately change that. But we're gonna do. I tell you what, our country has an amazing economic future. I really believe that.
What kind of universal tariff if you did do one?
Well, you'd put a universal tariff on anybody doing business in the United States because they're coming in and they're stealing our wealth, they're stealing our jobs, they're stealing our companies, they're hurting our companies. So you put a tariff on to keep them from doing that.
Mr. President, you surrounded yourself with a whole bunch of billionaires today. President Biden, as in his farewell address, warned about an oligarchy. I was wondering if you could respond to that.
Well, he had a lot of guys, and then they found out that he didn't know what the hell he was talking about, and I think they deserted him. They deserted him, those same guys. Look, I don't make pretenses, smart guys, but there are a lot of smart people around, but they did desert him. They were all with him, every one of them. Now they're all with me, I don't know. It's not going to get anything from me, I don't need money. But I do want the nation to do well, and they're smart people, and they have, they create a lot of jobs. And if they don't do it, China's going to do it. What they've done is they've taken industries and they've taken it away. They outsmarted China.
Elon
And,
replied to the ADL.
sort of
What did he
like that.
say? He said,
Okay.
I did
They've
sig
done a
Heil.
great
What are you
job.
going to do
A lot
about
of
it?
them. Not all of them.
Protecting women from radical gender ideologies.
Ooh.
Mr. President, going back to the World Health
course.
Organization, you were the president during COVID. Don't you see the importance of organization like that to coordinate a global response? in
Sure,
case?
I do, but not when you're being ripped off like we are by the World Health. World Health ripped us off. Everybody rips off the United States, and that's it. It's not going to happen anymore. Thank you very much, everybody.
All right, guys, let's go.
One last one, sir. This is your Martin Luther
Thank you,
King Day
guys.
proclamation.
Thank you, Press. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Press.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Let's go. Thanks, Press. Thank you, guys.
This is Martin Luther
Let's go, guys.
King. What are we doing on this stuff?